This is my MSD 6AL-2 electronic ignition box. If you've been paying attention to me and my trials and tribulations over the last couple of years, and you specifically have been noticing my 1970 Pontiac LeMans, you've seen this sitting on the inside fender on the driver's side, just chilling. Hasn't been running because we took it off the car and stopped using it because it fried itself. Not only that, this is the second one of these that have fried itself. And I'm getting a little bit tired of that. However, as you can see behind me, I am at Jegs. And these wonderful folks, specifically that man there, Uncle Terry, has said, you know what, Austin, I can test those things and tell you what's going on with it and what's failed with it. And verify that it is indeed bad. I've seen these things running on hot rods over my entire life. These MSD boxes have been mounted on fenders or on firewalls, in kick panels, wherever you want to put them, forever. I've seen them there for a long, long time. So I can't imagine it's an issue of the fact that it's overheating or it's having any problems. I do have the isolators on it as well, as you can see the rubber isolators there. So it's not a vibrational issue, and it's not like that car makes kind of, any kind of crazy powers. It's not like I'm dropping it, putting the nose 5 feet in the air and dropping it back down. So none of that would make sense. The question is going to be, why is this thing misbehaving? And what can we do about it? Because I'd like to be able to use this thing again. The nice feature with this that I really, really want is the fact that it's got it's got launch control. It's also got a rev limiter in it. So if something does happen to go wrong and, transmission cooks itself or whatever, my motor's not going to free spin and go up to, 8,000 RPMs and my $15,000 for the Pontiac comes flying apart. So, it's kind of the end of the day, and I'm going to see if I can squeeze in one last favor with Uncle Terry to be able to get this thing tested out and see what we can find out. MSD 6AL-2 diagnostic time. Here we go. Oh, I think he's got to sell Bill some stuff here real quick first, and then he's going to work on my stuff. What is this fancy thing?
It's fancy.
It's like a display unit?
No, it's
or is this truly a testing unit?
Yeah, it was both. It's a display and a tester.
Oh my goodness. I don't have one of these.
Well, you should.
Yeah, everybody needs one of these. Interesting. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Did you eat paint chips when you were a kid?
Is that really wet or don't touch hot?
Right. How hot
is it?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
How hot could it be?
Yeah.
It's like the surface of the sun.
Right.
Hot.
Don't touch the lightning when it jumps through here.
Exactly. Don't touch the lightning. I'm looking for your ground. Oh, there it is.
You can hack apart anything you need to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, we fill nitrous. It's $8 a pound.
For those of you who are not familiar, this is the 11th Avenue store at Jegs. If you haven't clearly watched any of my content, this is the 11th Avenue store at Jegs, downtown Columbus. This is the original Jegs. Fortunately, it's also like 10 minutes from my house and like 15 minutes from our shop, so it's super, super easy for me to get over here. Spend a little bit of money here. I'm here about 3 days a week. When you are in the hot rod life and you drive hot rods for a living, you're buying parts a lot. That's part of what this is. The nice thing for me is the fact that I have these guys basically just down the street from me, so I can rapidly utilize their ability to have tons of inventory as well as being able to assist me in all of my stuff. Actually, Terry and I spent about an hour the other day trying to figure out a distributor issue, which I believe, was that yesterday?
Day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday. Days tend to get blurry when you're getting older. But we had to figure out a distributor issue on that 1968 Cuda that's been sitting in the shop, giving us all kinds of hell. I think we got that part licked. Somebody has something, talking about something they got in there, and it's not what they think it is.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a pop quiz hot shot. When you see something that says distributor RTR, what's that mean? What does it mean to you? Let me know in the comments below. What do you need to run an RTR distributor? Extra credit if you get that correct. Trick question. This is the second one of these things. As I said, that had left me stranded. And the neat thing is, when you have an ignition system that's set up to run on one of these things, when it cooks, that's it. You're done. You're sitting there. You can't just rewire it and move on with life. I don't know what the situation was. I wasn't misbehaving. I was actually very much not misbehaving. I was just kind of cruising on down the road, and car stopped working, and I got no spark. So we'll see. I didn't do it. Wasn't me. I didn't do it. No, Scoutmaster says make sure you don't cut towards yourself there.
Right. That's my Scoutmaster. This is a true story. My Scoutmaster, when we were on a camp out one time, cut his foot, cut his two toes off with an axe. Because he was using it the wrong way. And he called everybody over there to show this is what you don't do. And I said, let's call an ambulance.
That's a very visual.
Then you can worry about telling us what not to do.
Wow.
I mean, he is bleeding like a stuck pig. Boy, I'm telling you, his blood was gushing out. And he goes, come here, I want you guys to all see this. This is what you shouldn't do. Hey, thanks.
Teachable moment from Scoutmaster Smith.
Exactly.
I don't know if you watched In Living Color.
Oh, yeah, Fire Marshal Bill.
Fire Marshal Bill, exactly. that's immediately what that brings to mind. It's like, let me show you something. Let's say you've got a ball of titanium. If you're not familiar, if you're not old enough to know Fire Marshal Bill, look up some of Jim Carrey's old Fire Marshal Bill stuff. That is some entertaining stuff. That is when I fell in love with that dude.
Yes, it is.
When the whole world realized that is a special person when it comes to comedy and physical comedy especially. Let me show you something.
That and Homie the Clown.
Yeah.
Homie don't play that.
Let's also be honest. That show could not be made anymore.
Couldn't be made today.
Like, literally couldn't be a thing anymore.
No way. The Damon brothers were some of the funniest people on the planet.
Yes. You can all those Wayans guys, they all came out of that world. That was an amazing show.
It was a great show.
Similar, actually, kind of where Saturday Night Live was the kind of like such an incubator for a lot of the comedy guys that really have made it.
That and Second City Television from that's
Toronto?
where all those from Canada. That's where all John Candy was originally on Second City Television.
Aykroyd, I think, was from there too.
Aykroyd was from there. Belushi was from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those guys came down from Canada. Eh?
Back in my day, there was real comedy out there. You could actually laugh at
There's
things.
real comedy out there.
You could laugh at yourself and other people without being worried about losing your career.
Someone. Yeah.
That's horrible. He whacked off his toes with an axe. Like, come over here, kids, and see
Come
this.
over, kids, and look at this.
Ugh.
All right.
All right. So how's this little doohickey work here?
What it'll do, like this is display. That's the display.
You got a little
Now we'll see what yours is doing.
RPME guy down here.
Yeah, this is a standard ignition, like an HEI or point type distributor or something like that, without an MSD box.
Okay. All right. I got you what you're saying here.
Yep. A lot of difference.
Even just in the audio side of things.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Now let's see what yours is.
And we were discussing off camera that this plastic shield was apparently a hot rod modification that was done to this.
Yes, it had to be done because of the shallow end of the gene pool.
People sticking the finger in there.
Your box works.
My box works.
That is your box. And unless maybe when it gets hot or something like that, maybe it goes south. But right now it's working fine. That's the display. That's your box. Now it goes. Oh, you got your limiter set. So when you reach your limit, RPM wise,
Oh, it cuts spark.
it cuts off spark off. As soon as you go
Yeah.
back under it,
I don't know that I ever set the limiter in that. It's probably whatever the factory limiter
where
is.
we set it from the factory. That's way high. I mean, that's
It's probably 10,000 RPM.
yeah, that's probably 10,000 RPM.
Yeah, I never set it.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't,
probably 10,000 RPM.
as far as I remember, I never set it. Okay, well that's a different answer than I was expecting for the
Yep.
evening. Because it was dead as a doornail. Wouldn't give us any ignition whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it's working. It's working fine.
Does the light pulse?
Let's see. Status is okay.
Did it fix
Still goes
itself
up.
from sitting still? Yeah, there
That's
you go.
it. That's it. Idle.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be doing.
Yep.
And we're hitting our rev limiter.
Rev limiter.
I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but it's definitely got an interesting sound to it.
It does.
Okay. So,
So that works.
huh. So you remember way back in the day, Bill and I both had issues where we had the same situation, like just driving down the road and then just boom, nothing. And you have no spark at all. And I replaced mine and he replaced his. That was in the same time period. Bill, Old Man's Garage.
Oh, 6,000. 6,000.
Oh, is what the limiter set to?
Yeah, RPM. Or it could be more than that because this is the 100 part over here.
Well, I mean, it literally stopped when I was coming to a stop, I believe. This one did.
6,500 RPM is what it's set at.
I can tell you the last time we had that thing hooked up, there was absolutely no blinky light. I had to let it sit and beat on it. And it did let me go drive for a little bit, one time, and then it left me stranded again.
So you got a two-step rev limiter here. This one is set at 3,300.
Which I also have never used.
Yeah. So unless you have it hooked up
Yeah, I
to
never
like a
hooked that up.
trans brake or
Never hooked that
something
up.
like that.
I have the button for it,
Yeah.
but I never use any of that stuff.
Yep.
Is there a way to... I guess there's not really a way to, like, run it and heat it?
Not really, because it won't get that hot just sitting there.
Just
like
running
that. Yeah.
the display unit.
But right now it's working like a champ. Usually, and this isn't that old. I mean, the 6AL-2s are not a really old unit. These are all in epoxy, and all the units in epoxy. The old ones were just boards.
Right.
And what happened with them is they would get a crack in them or something like that in the board, and it would work fine to idle. But once the board got hot, stuff separates when it gets hot. The board would separate and it quit. But then you got to cool off, crank it back up, and it cranks up just fine.
Right.
Go drive until it gets hot again and do exactly the same thing.
Right.
A lot of times that's what it was.
But this is sitting in like a black goo, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's epoxy.
Yeah.
I guess you wouldn't call it a hardened epoxy, but it is epoxy.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's just where vibration won't hurt or anything like that. You got these vibration points on the outside of it, but it also won't vibrate on the inside. Everything stays still.
Right.
Yeah. But it works.
Okay, that was not what I was expecting to experience today. So what?
I saved you $400.
Yeah, I mean the problem is like we literally took this thing off and redid a different, like it would not do anything. We took it back apart. We did a totally different ignition, and that's why we switched over to the Mallory system on it. And it was perfectly fine. And then it wasn't. Because we ended up frying one of the filters on the Mallory system.
I'll tell you, 99%. And I'm not saying this is your issue because it's obviously not, because you know what you're doing.
Well, that's not true.
99 and 100% of every problem that we have with MSD boxes, it grounds. Because it's got to be a good ground. It can't have no paint on it. It can't have no grease on it. It can't have nothing on it. It's got to be bare metal to these wires, the red wire and the black wire. It's got to be, these. I mean, you hook up to the coil, so it's pretty well dead set on anyway. But these two wires here, they got to be in a pure place ground. Otherwise, it'll work fine till it doesn't, and then it'll just shut off. And all it takes is a little bump or whatever, enough to move it, and then you move it again, and then everything works fine till it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's the majority of it. Another thing is that people weld on their cars with this attached to
And
it,
don't hook-
and it does bad things.
I remember seeing somewhere somebody's mentioned that you should probably unplug your battery also when you
Yes,
weld
sir.
on things.
Yes, sir.
Most people never do that.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Because it will fry it.
So is this something that people can do at home to be able to test this kind of thing, or do you kind of have to have one of these guys to be able to do that?
You really have to have this to test it, because this has got all the stuff to test it on. An easy way to do it, at home, the status light, that helped a lot in solving that issue. To test it at home, the only thing that you could do, and it's if you have if you don't have an MSD distributor that relies on this box to run. If you have a regular standard point distributor or an electronic distributor, just bypass the box. Bypass the box.
That was my problem, was the fact that the distributor I had required the 6AL box.
Then there's nothing you can do.
So I'm screwed. I'm sitting on the
there's
side
no
of the
way
road
you can
without being able to go.
If that light's not lit up, that means nobody's home.
Right,
So
and that was the
exactly-
thing, is like you could crank on it, and there was nothing.
Yeah. Because usually as soon as you got 12 volts to it, that light will come on.
Yeah.
And idle, it'll flash.
Right.
Let you know it's working. Then up above idle, then it's a solid red light. And then when you bump the rev limiter, it goes off. It shuts off.
Okay. So, probably have a wiring issue, which wouldn't be that surprising, because I have had intermittent electrical issues with that thing in the first place. If we're honest, the very first issue I had with that car, well, no, the second issue I had with it. First issue was, as soon as I bought it, it melted the the nylon line that goes to the oil pressure gauge.
Ooh, nice.
And literally pumped oil on the guy's driveway as I tried to drive it on the trailer.
Nice.
That was after I'd signed the title and handed the man cash. It melted that line, which was a lot of fun. The second thing was, as soon as I drove it in the shop, it shorted out and melted the gauge pod underneath the dash to the point where the gauge faces were on fire and the goo was melting out onto the floor of the car. Now, fortunately, the car didn't burn down because it had no carpet.
Yes.
But otherwise, like, the wiring in this car looked like it had been done by a fourth grader.
Right.
So it wouldn't be surprising if I have an intermittent.
It might very well be. Best thing, like I said on this, if you can go directly to the battery with those wires, that's the place to go. And if not, you just got to have a pure 12 volt source going to it. That's it. You can't hook it up to anything that's 9 volts. It has a resistor type wire in it, because it won't work. Well, I take it back. It will work until it doesn't. Because you're only getting 9 volts to this, and it's designed to run on 12 volts.
Yeah, they get pissy when you don't give them proper voltage.
They don't like it.
This was run directly to the battery, and I'm 99% sure this was run directly to the battery.
That's fine. That's where it needs to be.
So I wonder where our issue is.
Don't know. Because usually, like I said, these two wires are the wires that are most important. The rest of this stuff, it plugs onto the coil, or fits underneath the coil bracket, the coil nuts, and you don't have to worry about that stuff. And this is hooked directly up to the distributor, magnetic pickup on the distributor, so you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
if these are in a place where they can touch anything, that's bad, because that's a direct short. Even
So I wonder if these being
Yeah.
uncapped, if maybe
yeah, all it has to do is touch something. That's it.
maybe those things pissed it off and it shut itself off.
Sure. Because it's a direct short. As soon as this hits, this stuff's not supposed to be hooked up to anything,
Yeah.
because this is basically points and stuff is what it is. Points, tact signal, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if this touches anything, now it's a direct short. So then it's done.
Okay.
So it will shut off.
So maybe lazy wiring is my issue.
Could be.
Because this has been sitting this way forever.
Yeah. If it touches anything, that'll
And it does look, I don't have my glasses on, but that does look dark.
Yes,
like
it
it's maybe it's arced onto something.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe my issue isn't an MSD box issue.
No.
It's we were lazy with the wiring
Right.
and screwed ourselves.
Yeah. All you just put your wire caps on top of that stuff, or just electrical tape.
Yeah.
That one too.
Just take the spade off of it.
Because if this touches this,
Right.
same thing. It's a direct short.
Right.
That has
Okay.
a little corrosion upon it.
I did not think about that.
So that's, yeah, you need to just tape all that stuff off.
Okay.
Because if that touches that, if that touches
Yeah.
that touches that,
Those are,
yeah.
or if it
And
touches the fender
this is
because it was.
exactly the right length for it to touch each other.
Yeah.
So,
And this was sitting loose. This was on top of the fender, and this was sitting loose in the fender hole behind the headlight.
yeah,
So maybe that's what caused our problem.
could be, could very well be.
Aren't we learning things today? That's why we come here.
Every day is a learning
That's
experience.
why you gotta have a Terry in your back pocket.
I try to learn stuff every day.
I appreciate the knowledge. That's
No,
good.
No. I believe me, I got 50 years worth of working on those little jewels.
That's
right there.
and that's like literally why I'm here. Like I've seen these things running forever
Yes.
in cars. You got 40-year-old units sitting on a firewall
You do.
that work
do.
fine. So that's why I was like,
they've been rained on, spit on, and everything else,
Right.
and they work just fine.
right.
You know, and like I said, 99% of the time, 99 to 99, 100% of the time, it is most of the time a wiring issue. It's a ground issue more than it is anything else. That is actually a ground issue, even though it doesn't ground
Right.
anything, but
But
it
it's
is
grounding
grounding
itself.
to itself.
Right.
Once it grounds to itself, it won't work.
I bet you that's what our problem is.
Yeah, probably is.
So now here's the next question. Do I put this and a new distributor with it for the 350HO and use that to control my 350HO?
Sure, I would.
Or put it back on my 455?
What, you get the Mallory back on your 455 now?
Yeah.
And everything's working good with it?
I've got a little bit of a miss
Yeah.
right now that I'm literally about to start trying to troubleshoot right now.
Yeah.
But it's at like partial throttle. It's not a high RPM thing.
Yeah.
But even Bob, if you go back and watch the video from Pontiac Nationals, he's like, it feels like it's got like one little tiny miss every now and then. It's got a miss in it. And I can feel it when I'm cruising at like 70. You can feel kind of, where it just drops out like one every couple of rotations. But it's also something where I can't figure out what side it's on as far as being able to feel it through an exhaust pipe or something like that.
Right.
And it doesn't do it at idle. It's only under partial throttle. So.
Yeah, that could be anything. I mean, could have bad plug wire.
Right, and that's my next
Yeah.
step is going to be hunting that stuff down.
Yeah. Good dark.
Well, there you go. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the
No problem.
for the entertainment and the education, sir.
No problem. No
Appreciate
problem. You bet.
Thanks as
You
always.
bet. No problem.
There you go, guys. So, MSD box is not bad. Maybe we're bad at wiring, or maybe lazy at wiring, we should say.
Uncle Terry saved $400.
Yeah, right. Right, Terry. You know damn well I'm going to spend that $400 on something else.
That's it.
Thanks, sir.
sir.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
There you go. Some knowledge and education, experience, maybe even some entertainment from these lovely folks at Jegs on 11th Avenue. I didn't say that right. It's Jegs.
Bye, everyone.
Have I kept you after hours?
Yeah, a little bit.
Thank you for staying open for
Have
me.
a good evening.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. As you can see, nighttime is here. That's enough for this one. I guess the next thing I really need to get involved with here is going to be troubleshooting my ignition issues on that Pontiac. I guess that's stop screwing around, Austin, and figure that out. So, unfortunately, the weather here in Central Ohio is going to be a little rough. Right now, it's actually not that terrible, but I think Monday it's supposed to be a high of 4. And I got to get the car inside to be able to do that. I'm not going to troubleshoot this at 4 degrees outside. So I guess the next thing we need to do is pull my 1970 Le Mans into the shop and start doing some ignition troubleshooting. I've got spark plugs for it. I've got a set of wires technically even I could even put on it, and we'll figure out where that is. Or do I just bite the bullet and get a whole new wiring harness for that car and just start over again? Because I do happen to have some friends in the wiring business, so maybe that's an option. And at least it's cold season and it's time to, do maintenance on your hot rods before you can go out and play with them. So let me know what you guys think. Ever seen that little MSD box before? Thanks to the guys at Jegs. I truly do appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys for watching. If this is your first video here, this is Automotive Adventures with Austin, my own little personal corner of the YouTube internets, where I work on my own personal projects and that kind of stuff. Nights, weekends, evenings, the stuff that I'm not doing when I'm at Lucor Automotive for my primary job. So if you're into this kind of thing, click on the subscribe button. It's always great to have a new member here. If you've been here before, if you watched other previous videos, thanks for being here. I love you very much. You help me do what it is I do. So thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.